Hi, everyone. I am so glad you joined me today because my heart is absolutely breaking over the terrifying direction the Lynette Hooker case just took. We are diving straight back into the harrowing disappearance of Lynette Hooker because a piece of server data just turned this entire maritime mystery upside down. Federal investigators tracking this case have just bypassed the vessel entirely and went straight to the heavens. They managed to seize the official Starlink satellite server logs directly from SpaceX, and what those digital timestamps reveal about the night she vanished completely shatters her husband Brian's timeline. But that is not even the part that stopped me cold. While Brian claimed he was helplessly drifting in the dark for over 8 hours, those permanent server records caught a specific device actively communicating with the network. It means a silent machine witnessed the entire event. How does a tragedy out on the water leave a perfect digital footprint miles away in space? Before we unpack this terrifying trap, please hit that subscribe button to support our journey for justice, like this video, and share your thoughts below. I cannot shake this evidence from my mind. Let's start the video. The physical route of that hard-bottom dinghy did not just fade away in the ocean. According to an explosive investigative report published by CBS News, federal agents managed to pull the actual history from the Navionics navigation application Brian Hooker used on his own phone. But when investigators plotted those exact coordinates on a map, reality hit them like a physical blow. The automated tracking path did not end at the anchorage where the sailboat was waiting. It did not even end where Brian claimed Lynette went into the water. Instead, the route simply stopped dead, right in the middle of the sea, exactly halfway through the crossing. Why would a tracking system suddenly go dark in a straight line before any emergency ever began? Did the application fail, or did a human hand deliberately shut down the digital trail to hide what was about to happen next? It makes your chest tighten with a sudden freezing sense of dread when you realize that the timeline wasn't just interrupted, it was completely cut off. Think about that for a second. If you were the investigator looking at that frozen screen, what would you guess happened in that exact patch of black water? CBS News confirmed that Brian voluntarily handed over and shared this screenshot with close friends. Before the full weight of the federal forensic process descended upon him, he likely thought it proved his desperate journey. Instead, it became a permanent digital trap. Our competitor channels are treating this as a simple mystery, but we are looking at this from a top-level journalistic angle. It forces you to feel an overwhelming anger because everything we are uncovering shows this was not a sudden, chaotic maritime accident. This halfway termination points toward a calculated decision made in total silence. But the digital route is only the first piece of the puzzle feds pulled from the sea. What do you think the automated server logs showed when they cross-referenced this exact coordinate with the satellite router? This is where the investigative trap completely closes around Brian's story, and it involves a silent witness sitting thousands of miles away in space. Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer confirmed to Newsweek that federal agents have officially pulled the cloud server logs from the Starlink satellite router installed right on the Soulmate. Why does this matter? Because while Brian claimed he was drifting helplessly without power for 8.5 hours, SpaceX's permanent independent servers recorded a specific device actively communicating on the network. A machine record cannot lie, and it cannot be wiped by throwing a phone overboard. It makes your blood run cold when you line this up with the physical evidence. The U.S. Coast Guard Investigative Laboratory analyzed the dinghy's safety kill switch lanyard, and their verified report blew this case wide open. The cord didn't snap in an accident. It was cleanly sliced with a sharp blade. But why would anyone cut a safety device mid-emergency? To make matters worse, Hopetown Fire Chief Richard Cook revealed Brian told first responders Lynette swam toward the shore. Yet private Facebook messages obtained by CBS News show he told a friend she swam toward the sailboat. Those 2 points are separated by 2.5 miles of open, treacherous water. It triggers pure anger to see such casual, dangerous contradictions. But as the feds dug into his past, they found that this pattern of behavior didn't start on the water. When a person has nothing to hide, they run toward the investigators, not away from them. But Brian Hooker did the exact opposite. Bahamas police tracking records confirmed by ABC News show that on April 13th, Brian sat down for an interview claiming his entire life was dedicated to finding his wife. Yet, within 24 hours of that broadcast, he quietly slipped out of the jurisdiction and fled straight back to Michigan. What was he running from? When CBS News tracked down his new attorney, Crystal Marie Hewer, and presented her with direct text messages from family friends demanding answers, she didn't offer a defense. She literally hung up the phone. It leaves you feeling completely hollow inside, realizing that the people who should be screaming for justice are choosing absolute silence instead. But if you want to understand the psychology of this behavior, we have to look at what the feds found when they unsealed his past. Investigative journalists at WZZM13 filed a formal Freedom of Information Act request and pulled the official Kent County court files from 2005. What they found is chilling. Brian had been charged with felony third-degree child abuse involving his own children. The Sarkari records explicitly detailed evidence of physical neck compression. Even though he was legally acquitted a year later, the state files contain a self-written email where he admitted to dragging his child. It makes you sick to your stomach to see this hidden history of domestic violence, but as this investigative circle tightens back on the water, the feds have turned their focus to a physical object recovered from the vessel that shatters his story completely. Everything comes down to the items left behind in the quiet aftermath of a tragedy. If Brian's story was true and Lynette truly vanished into the ocean miles away, then why did CBS News anchor Tony DeCouple report that federal investigators recovered her personal Apple Watch from inside the boat? Think about that. If she never made it back to the vessel, how did her most intimate tracking device end up sealed within the cabin? This discovery feels like a crushing weight in your chest because it points to an undeniable reality. Someone chose to keep that watch on board, and the physical evidence only gets more heartbreaking. Lynette's daughter, Carly Ellsworth, bravely stepped onto that crime scene herself. In an emotional interview with Jesse Weber on News Nation, Carly revealed that she personally recovered her mother's favorite headband, a picture frame, and her signature necklace with the letter L charm. Carly now wears that necklace every single day to keep her mother close. Seeing a daughter forced to collect the fragments of her mother's life from a suspected crime scene stirs a deep, undeniable anger. It shows that the boat's interior had been deliberately rearranged after Lynette disappeared, stripping away any lingering belief that this was a chaotic accident. So, where does the legal battle stand right now? Royal Bahamas Police Commissioner Shanta Knowles issued an official public statement that carries immense weight. She explicitly clarified that Brian's release from local custody was absolutely not an exoneration. He didn't walk away because he was proven innocent. He walked away simply because a strict legal clock ran out. The Sarkari machinery is still moving. In fact, the U.S. Coast Guard Investigative Service has issued a high-priority public notice seeking the crew of a specific silent vessel that was anchored in Aunt Pat's Bay that very night. They are hunting for the final eyewitness to break this case wide open. Lynette Hooker is still missing in the dark waters of the Bahamas, but the digital and physical traps left behind are permanent. It makes you wonder, can a perfect alibi ever truly survive when the very machines around us are quietly recording the truth? We will keep fighting for Lynette.